Peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the Author Spotlight. I'm your host, Rob YB Youngblood, President of Sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days, and I am excited about our guest today, Glenda Lezeau. She's an author and mental health advocate. We was having a whole lot of fun before I hit the record button. Just talking about all things New York, all things hip hop, and she's got a little Haitian background. Not little, but she's got a Haitian background. So she's gonna talk a little bit about that. That's right. We're gonna talk a little. Come on now. So for those of you who are Haitian, get hype. You know what I'm saying? Like get hype. Your sister's on. She's gonna drop some heat. But before we get into all of that, Glenda, thank you so much for agreeing to serve as my guest. I really enjoy the energy that you bring. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. So let's start off a little bit. Where are you from? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you as well. I'm just honored to be here, to be quite honest. So it goes both ways with the gratitude. But as y'all know, I'm Glenda. I'm Haitian. That's all y'all need to know. No, I'm just kidding. There's more to it, but people who know me know I'm always repping Haiti. And born and raised in Brooklyn, currently in the DMV area. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about anytime you hear about somebody being from a certain city and it has the South before it, it's the hood. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully I'm not disrespecting nobody. If you might be from South Indianapolis or whatever, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care what it is. If it got MLK Boulevard on it, if it's got, you know, now I'm gonna throw Glenda under the bus a little bit, right? Because she said if it's MLK school, I don't mean no harm, but if you live anywhere south something, it's the hood. Now here's what I want you to do, because this is how I know you was watching. Just shoot me a message, shoot me an email, post a response. If you disagree, like just tell me what city you at, if you are south, whatever, and it's like plush, and it's like, you know, they don't throw their guns in the air and buck like they just don't care, like Onyx. If it's nothing like that, just, hey, educate me. I'm not above reproach. You feel me? So let's get back to the interview. So Glenda, you're originally from New York, from Brooklyn, got a Haitian background. How now? And you also shared with me that you're first generation, correct?
I am first generation. Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. Like, what was it like? You know, just coming, you know, being here in the States. Your family's from Haitian. Like, what was that transition like for you and growing up?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to have been born in Brooklyn, where there's a huge Haitian population, there's a huge Caribbean population. So it wasn't as if every time I go to school, I have to explain what Haiti is or what being Haitian is. So I think that was really helpful. I always had Haitian friends. Literally, I have a Haitian friend till this day. Shout out to my girl, Mange. We've been friends since daycare. Like we went to daycare together. So I always had Haitian friends in my classes and my school. So I didn't feel left out. It was just like, oh yeah, there's my Haitian friend. And then because Brooklyn just has so much culture, a lot of my non-Haitian classmates or not a lot of my non-Haitian friends knew about what being Haitian is, or like, oh my gosh, do you eat that black rice? Which is Z John. But so it wasn't as hard of a transition because I didn't have to explain what Haiti was to others and what being Haitian was like. Now, the challenge was I had an identity crisis almost, because in the home, at home, you know, it was my parents, it's my sister, it's my grandmother who didn't even speak English, and she babysat me a lot, obviously. And we did, I don't want to say we did everything Haitian in the household because we were still assimilated, but my mom and grandma are cooking Haitian food. I'm hearing Creole, the language. And so I go home and I'm like, okay, I'm Haitian. Then I go to school, it's like, yes, I'm Haitian, but then you're trying to somewhat fit in with your other friends that aren't Haitian and trying to figure that out. And I remember growing up feeling like I was more Haitian than American.
Right.
And so it was a little bit weird in figuring out identity. As I got older, I just call myself a mixture of both. But growing up as a kid, it's like, no, but I'm Haitian. Or like we had certain rules, like perfect example. I was telling someone recently, I've never been trick-or-treating, ever. And that is such a Haitian thing. And I remember once trying to convince my Haitian mom, I was like, Mom, we could go with the neighbor. You know her family. Like she's great. She's good people. We're just going to go in the neighborhood. We've been here long enough. My mom's like, it's not part of our culture. we're not, you don't go trick-or-treating. I was like, dang it. So overall, I feel like it was great, but there's definitely challenges to figure out who am I being born here and having this Haitian background and also feeling very connected to the Haitian culture and trying to figure out, well, where does Glenda fit in?
Right. You know, that's important because as I was sharing earlier before we hit the record button, you know, being an author is more than just you writing a book, right? You're a character beyond being the author, right? You have an identity, and there is a challenge for many authors who struggle with that, right? Because their book may or may not be about them, but they still have an identity that they have to present as the author. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. So obviously you grew up in Brooklyn. You had this, you know, this thing where you're working on, you know, 1 minute being Haitian, 1 minute focusing on assimilating. How did that lead to your, you know, your career or in terms of what you're doing in the mental health capacity?
So I laugh because there's a stereotype with Haitians where the only careers they want you to do is doctor, lawyer, you know, maybe teacher, like all of these, like being a nurse, like medical field. I mean, my parents they weren't like that. Like my mom would be like, oh, you could be whatever you want, but no, deep inside, like she's just like, why don't you just be a nurse? So growing up, I really wanted to be this good Haitian kid. And, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a pharmacist, you know, like all these like safe jobs. And I went to college, pre-pharmacy, and then I switched my major. So it was just all over the place. But mental health was never part of the conversation in terms of a career. I didn't even consider it an option. What happened was after I graduated college, about 6 months after graduating college, May 2011 is when I graduated college. November 2011, I had a major psychotic breakdown.
What?
Yes. And it was so bad. And I've never had anything like this before. I was having symptoms for years, but I was in denial. Looking back, I'm like, there were signs, but I've never had symptoms like that before. And it was so bad that my parents had to call 911 and I had to be hospitalized.
Wow.
And so I'm hospitalized in a psychiatric unit. I'm sitting reflecting like, wait, I just graduated college. I did everything right. Like I'm supposed to be working my way up or what have you. And I just found myself at this crossroad. And instantly, while I was in the psychiatric unit, that's when I was like, oh, I need to help people. Oh, I need to share my story. Oh, mental wellness is a real thing that I've been ignoring and people need to know about this. And so that's what sparked it.
Wow, that's real. You know, most people, like I've heard folks get into the mental health field because maybe they had a family member or, you know, it was something around them, but never really their situation. So essentially, because of your own personal situation, you felt like, listen, I need folks to really, you know, to understand what this is all about. Yeah. So talk a little bit about, so obviously you had your situation, the psychotic episode, all those things. How did you then get into the arena of being an advocate?
So in the psychiatric unit, I felt that I needed to be that advocate, but of course I was still in the healing space. So again, it was a weird space to be in. But funny enough, while I was hospitalized, I was talking to other people that I was hospitalized with. And I'm like, it's okay. Just keep pushing through. What are you going through today? And now, yes, in some ways it was good, but in some ways it was bad because it's like, Glenda, honey, you need to heal. Like you just got here like 2 days ago trying to like advocate for folks and talk to the workers, the clinicians, and this and that. And it's like, girl, you need to sit out and work on yourself.
Work this out.
Exactly. But just to show you where the passion was, where I was just in the unit, like talking to other folks. So that's really where it started. But after I was discharged, I was in that healing space. I didn't have the bandwidth to really, okay, what am I calling this? I felt this passion, I felt this calling, but I didn't know what am I going to do with it? I'm still trying to figure life out because now everything is different. And so it took years for me to finally tap into it. And honestly, it took a second breakdown for me to finally realize, come on, you were supposed to be doing something to help others.
Yeah.
Now the second breakdown was not as intense as the first. I didn't have to be hospitalized, but it was a wake-up call for me. And so that happened December 2016 and January 2017. I instantly started posting on social media on my personal account at the time and just went straight with it. I have bipolar and I want to help others. I'm going to start sharing some tips, resources, empowerment. And that's when it started.
Wow. That's truly powerful. First of all, and you mentioned that you were transparent. I value your transparency because it's through our transparency that we actually attract the people that need our help. It's none of this phoniness, none of this fakeness, you know what I'm saying? Just giving people the real, the raw. So for those of you that are watching, listening, you know, definitely tie in because, you know, this could be your breakthrough. You know what I'm saying? Just listening to Glenda's story and understanding that, hey, if she was able to deal or identify it or put her finger on it and really focus on healing, you can do the same thing. I mean, even for myself, you know, I went through a situation in 2015 where you know, I felt like the world was spinning out of control, and I just want to get off. You know, it's like riding the D train. You know what I'm saying? Like I just want to get off this train. I just need to get off this train. You feel me? And I went to a sports bar, and you know, at that time, I had not had any alcohol for about 10 years. But at that time, I wanted to drink myself into a stupor, get in my car, and whatever happened, happened. You know what I'm saying? But prayerfully, you know, thankfully, I had two brothers come my way to help me, you know, make a decision not to drink the second drink because I was getting that first one. I was drinking that first one. You know what I'm saying? When you drink a Hennessy straight, like when you order Hennessy straight, it ain't cheap. Yeah, like, I'm gonna do something. Y'all not throwing this away. We're gonna drink this. But I appreciate your transparency. So let's talk a little bit about your book. What's the name of your book and what prompted you to write it?
Yeah, so this is my book, y'all. So Letters to My Bipolar Self. Ooh, and what prompted me to write it, I don't remember the first moment where I was just like, oh, I need to write it. Yeah. I just remember somewhere in the beginning stages, but I just don't remember that first moment where I was just like, oh, this could be a book. Yeah. I knew for a period of time after that first breakdown in 2011 that I wanted to write a book and be an author, but I wasn't sure what about. So something in my spirit just wanted to start documenting parts of my journey. And so what I started doing is writing letters to myself based on whatever it is that I was going through at the time. And so anytime when I would get something in my spirit, like, oh, you're going through that, Glenda, write a letter about that. I would either write a letter about it in the moment or take notes and write the letter later on. Wow. And so I kept doing that for a period of time. And I told myself I want 50 letters. And once I wrote 50 letters to myself, that's when I published my book.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah. So I want you all to catch this, right? So the majority of you that's watching this, you're authors, but then there's some of you who are aspiring authors. Listen to how simple her process was, right? So first of all, the first thing she did was she made a decision, right? She had a desire to empower people, to put a spotlight on her own mental health challenge. And she said, I'm going to write a letter to my bipolar self, right? Yeah. And she said, and she set a definite number. So she said, I'm gonna do 50 letters, right? Yeah. I mean, you could have did 25, but you did 50 letters. And so as you were writing this, what kind of transformation? Because I've often heard, I myself, I'm a co-author in one book project. I got another book project that's coming out as a co-author project. Nice. I've often heard people talk about how being an author is transformational. Can you talk about that experience as yourself? Like, did you have a similar experience of this being transformational for you?
Oh yeah, very, very transformational. I feel like it depends on what you're writing about, but because I was writing about something so personal, it was extremely transformational. And also I didn't realize it was going to be this transformational, but one of the biggest aspects of it, remember, I'm writing letters to myself based on whatever it is I'm going through, whether it's something great, not great, in between, whatever it is. And I started having aha moments based on what I would write about. So perfect example, I don't remember which letter number, but I think it's somewhere in the beginning, I wrote about a depressed state because I was going through a depressed state. It wasn't going away. It was happening for days. And I remember telling myself, you know what, Glenda, this time around, this depression is never going away. You're going to be like this permanently. Everyone's going to notice. You're never going to overcome this. But I went to work at this temp job and I'm the receptionist and I'm sitting there in this depressed state, just like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. And then all of a sudden, I kid you not, you can't make this up. Welcome to New York City. This man comes into the office with like a pink, furry, like bear suit, like a costume, like pink, like all in pink. And I was just like, hi, how can I help you?
It wasn't Cameron, was it? Was it Cameron?
No, it was not.
Okay, it wasn't Cameron. Okay. When I
No,
think about anything pink and you know,
No.
like I think about Cameron.
No, it was just a random guy. And I was just like, hi, can I help you? He's like, yeah, I'm here to see so-and-so. And so-and-so is one of the managers. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, but you know his name. So I go to so-and-so. I'm like, hey, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah is here. He's like, oh, great, awesome. Hey, come on, gang. Come, let's go to the front, get so-and-so. And I'm just like, what is going on? Yeah. So then I find out, remember, it's a temp job, so I don't know everyone well.
Yeah, you know everybody, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like confused. One of the employees, he was leaving for another job. This man that's coming up here, he's like some type of entertainer, and that's the going away present. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, this man in this pink furry costume starts music, ding, and then he starts singing to like popular songs but his own like lyrics, and he's saying things like, and we're gonna miss you, like just like singing to the person, and then he's like performing and dancing, and I'm like, and I'm here like Snapchatting, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I'm laughing. And after that was done, I was like, Glenda, you're smiling, and you said you would never overcome this. But you're starting to overcome it. So I wrote a letter about that.
Right.
And I wrote a letter about that. I was like, remember this day.
Yeah.
When you think it will last forever. And so I wrote it, left it alone. Then I don't know, several letters later, the same thing happened. I was having a depressed state again. This time it's never going to go away. And instantly it's like, didn't you write a letter about this, Glenda?
Right.
Like, no, we have to go back to that letter. So things like that started happening. I started seeing patterns in my mental health.
Yeah.
And then I also started healing on another level after writing these letters. And then now I'm like, so if I'm able to heal from writing these letters, how can other people heal the same way?
That's good.
So now
Now
I have a signature letter writing activity based on my book.
Oh, I love that.
Help
I love
others.
that. I love that.
Was not part of the plan.
Right.
I was just writing it, document the journey, hopefully it helps people. That's it. And then all of these things are coming from it.
So please, those of you who are watching, listening, please listen to what Glenda just said, right? So oftentimes you never really see the full picture, right? Yeah. You may only see one step, but you've got to take that first step to get to the second step and then get to the next platform, right? So as a result of what Glenda said, she went through the process of writing her own letters and then reading her letters, which helped her to find solace and to put herself in a position to say, you know what, it's not as bad or as it is, or there is a way out of this darkness. Yeah. And then as a result of her writing the book, she now has a letter writing activity that allows for her to impact more people. That is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, I think that's great, Glenda. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the impact that your book has had. When did your book come out, and what kind of impact? Like what kind of reviews or you know, maybe share a situation where somebody, they got their hands on their book and they just hit you and they just gave you this raving review. Like, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I published it 2020, so this is relatively new.
Okay.
And it's been great. I feel like, and I'm sure you've heard of this before, but when you're an author, you're a sense of authority, right? And that's the first thing that I'm noticing. I'm getting invited for interviews or other podcasts because I'm an author. Because think about it, I started talking about this 2017, but it was once I became an author, they're like, oh, I see you're an author. Like, can you come into my podcast or can you do this workshop? Yeah. So that's one thing, that sense of authority is starting to play out. Two, it's impacting not just individuals with mental health, but individuals who just, I remember one person in particular, she bought the book just to support me as an individual, but she didn't know my story. because we had pretty much, long story short, she has this Haitian fitness class that she used to do. Yeah. Guyard Fitness is what she called it. And so we met that way. We would just have great conversation, laugh, ha ha ha, like we're dancing, cool. Yeah. It just didn't come up. My story didn't come up, but she knew I was an author. So she bought my book and she started reading it, and she messaged me. She was like, Glenda, like, I had no idea what you've been through. Like, when I met you, you're just this person who's just like having fun, excited, great energy. She was like, I was almost in tears just thinking like, wow, she's been through all of that. I would have never thought, right? So there's different reviews and responses to it. And for the most part, I've been getting great feedback. I think similar to what you've been saying, it's people say things like, Glenda, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing this. Some people have said like, oh, I've been through something similar. Like I thought it was just me. And it's like, nope, not just you. Yeah. And from there, you know, I have the signature activity. I do workshops. So I've been invited to do different workshops as well. So
yeah, that's strong. So you're giving us a whole lot of the positives, right? A lot of the impact. And let's talk a little bit about the challenges. Like what was there any challenges that you had to overcome in becoming an author? Yeah. You know, and if so, what were those challenges?
The biggest challenge for me was the publishing process. Writing the book was the easy part. Okay, I should write a letter about this. That was just natural. It was healing. It was great. It was fun. Yeah. The publishing part, I was just like, oh my goodness. This is why you have to be passionate about your book, because if I wasn't, I don't know if I would have kept going through, because it was my first book, yes, but also I was doing it on my own. Right. So I was not only the author, I was also the project manager. Yeah. I was also the main point of contact. Yeah. I was also, all right, book cover, great. Second, asking for opinion. What do you think? Okay, no, change this. Then it's like, oh, interior formatting. Yes, you. Yep. Hey, it was just a lot of hands, and I'm just like, this is overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. I had to delay my book being released so many times because of things coming up. So that was the most challenging. Yeah. Next time around, I'm going to do it differently. This is,
So I'm glad. So while I never cheer over people's adversity, and so you had that adversity. Yeah. But this is why we exist as Self-Published in 30 Days, right? Because and when I tell people, there's 3 directions you can go, right? You can either get a traditional publisher and forego your rights as an author, but get a royalty if they even select you, right? Because they may or may not select you. You could do it yourself and be everything, right? Yeah. Or you can hire a general contractor like us. That we have the access. You still retain the rights as an author, as the CEO of your project, but you have the weight lifted off of your shoulders. So you definitely are speaking to the fact that by going with someone. Now, some people say, well, I don't want to spend all that money. But here's the thing: we've worked with Emmy winners, right? That have said, you're gonna have to make an investment. This is an example that Kim Gagne, who was the executive producer of the Steve Harvey Show. She's one of our friends. This is what she said. She says, even though my son can take a picture with his iPhone, she wasn't going to hire him to do the picture that was going to go on her book. She was going to hire a professional photographer that's going to require some money. So I love the fact that you said that. So let me ask this question. This is the moment of truth, though. Yeah, you would do it differently if you could do it over again the first time. Yeah, would you have done the same thing that you did the first time? Yeah. So if I had to do it over again, I would do the same thing, only because financially it was, because I knew about, I didn't know about your particular company, but I knew about other companies. Yeah. But I didn't have the investment at the time. Right. And so that's why, and of course, even doing it on my own, I still had investments to still put up, but it was still less than what I would have to put up if I did go through a company. So I didn't want to not publish a book simply because I can't, because I don't have the money currently to pay a company like yours, like Self-Published in 30 Days. Yeah. So I was just like, all right, just
just, no more excuses. Let's just, do it. So if in the same predicament, yes, I would do it over again. But for book 2, hint, hint, my book is a series. So there's book 2 in the series and it's coming out this year. Hint,
Love
hint.
it, love it, love it, love it.
This time around, 100%, I'm going definitely with the company. I'm not,
Good.
that's not happening again.
Good, good. Yeah, because we have a lot of folks who are very busy. Well, and even though I don't like to use that word, but there's a lot of people use that word, but they got a lot on their plate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the type of people we work with, they're extremely active. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can appreciate you sharing that, and we look forward to learning more about that second book project and possibly putting ourselves in a position to attract you as a client. But so let's land the plane a little bit and let's talk about the future. So you did mention that you got a series going on. Where do you see yourself in the next year, 2 years, 5 years as an author? What's your vision?
So the first part of the vision is publishing the whole series, which is most likely going to be 3 books. Actually, I know for a fact it's most likely going to be 3 books. Mm-hmm. So publishing the series. I do have other book ideas, other journal ideas as well that I'm working on, but I really want to publish the series and focus on that. But I might change my mind. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw in a journal in between there. I'm not sure. But definitely want to finish the series, publish some journals. And I have other book ideas, but I don't know. I see this as partially a spiritual journey as well, because sometimes we have this fixed goal. This is exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah. But I like the journey to allow me to flow with it. Yeah. Because like I said, this book was not even an idea. So I don't really fully know where it's going to take me. 2 years from now, something may pop up like, oh my gosh, what idea, you won't believe. I didn't even think of this idea. So that's where I see myself. I also see myself increasing book sales and being able to have more and more interviews like this, to be honest. Like this part of my business is one of my favorite parts, to be honest, just interviewing and talking and connecting with others and being able to be on talk shows, putting it out there.
Listen, I could see you doing it. Your energy, listen, your personality is big, big, big. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's too small for Zoom. You know what I'm saying? It's too small. It's too small for webinars, right? You got to be on TV because you got to give them that. You got to give them that flair. That you got to give them that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think that's amazing, and prayerfully we'll be a part of helping you do that. So as we land the plane, Glenda, let's talk a little bit about. I've got a curveball for you, and then I want to hear how can people get connected to you and get a copy of your book. So say for example, you already know you got a series coming up. You got book number 2, book number 3, journal number 1, journal number 2. You got all that coming out. But say for your next project, if you can go anywhere in the world to write your next book. And we were paying for it. Ooh. Where would you go? Anywhere in the world. If you could go anywhere in the world to write your next book, where would you go?
Oh.
We were paying, and I was cutting the check myself. If I, I was cutting the check. You don't have to worry about travel. You can go out as long as you want to. Where would you travel to?
Oh my goodness. So this is hard only because I feel like there's so much to choose from. Yeah. Let me start by describing it. Definitely somewhere warm, definitely somewhere beachfront, for sure. In terms of where, so many choices. Wow, this one's actually really hard.
Oh man, I got it. You probably be the first one I stumped on this one, right?
Because it's so many choices. Okay, fine. I'll make a choice. Yeah. I'm gonna say Costa Rica.
Okay, Costa Rica. All right. Yeah. Now, have you ever been there before?
No, that's why I chose it.
Good. No, I love it. And the majority of the people outside of maybe one, the places that they've selected, they've never been, right?
Yeah.
So one person that I asked a question to, he said the Republic of the Congo, right? Well, he's from the Congo, so you know what I'm saying. So it's like, okay, cool. You want to go back home, and that's good. I've had people say nowhere. I'll stay at my house. I'm like, well, that don't have to pay for it. And then others have said they want to be on a mountain. They want to
I
go.
can see that.
They want to go to an island where they can literally see the water, like there's
Yeah.
glass and there's. I said, man, I love it. People have said Africa. But one dude said Africa. I said, well, you know, Africa is a big continent. He said, listen,
Yeah.
drop me off anywhere in the continent, and I'll be excited. So I was like, okay, cool. But listen, Glenda, it has been a true pleasure getting to know you. I pray that the folks that are watching, that those of you who are watching and listening, that you glean from her story. You may have to listen to us a couple times. If you're Haitian, or if you know some Haitians, make sure you share this episode with them. It is exciting. We might have to get you back when you get the second, third books out there. But Glenda, how can people get their hands on Letter to My Bipolar Self? How can people get their hands on your book?
Amazon. It's as simple as that. Go to Amazon. It's right there. Make that purchase.
Love it. Give us the name of the book again, and also if people want to contact you directly to get you maybe on their podcast or get you on their TV show, you know, get you on a TV show, how can they reach you?
risingfrombipolar.com or glendalezeau.com. I just recently launched that. You can contact me either hi@risingfrombipolar.com or hi@glendalezeau.com, either or.
Love it. Well, listen, you've just listened to Glenda Lezeau, who is a phenomenal up and coming author. Her energy is crazy, is off the chain, and I didn't mean like that in a negative way, right?
No,
So,
I'm not taking it that way.
When you're from New York, we use words like dumb code. Like people are like, okay, what does that mean? Like, are you calling me dumb? Are you calling me no? New Yorkers have a way of communicating. We speak in oxymorons, right? It just cancels everything out. So, but no, her energy is tremendous. So definitely support her. And as we wrap up, as I do in every episode, I just want to encourage you, for those of you who are overcoming mental health challenges, you can win. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's people who have overcome. Glenda is an example. I'm an example. There's so many people that are examples. So we just want to encourage you. It's okay to seek professional assistance. It's okay. It's not taboo. I know back in the day, you know, our folks didn't talk about it. They swept it under the rug. They put people in a way, but it's okay. So we want to encourage you. So on behalf of Darren M. Palmer, our Chief Book Officer, and all of our team at Self-Published in 30 Days, we want to say thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for listening. Please drop your comments in the chat. If you enjoyed it, join it, let Glenda know. If it's something that I said that rocked your boat a little bit and you ain't like it, let us know. We want to hear about it. But here's the reality. We want you to be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, be faithful over your gift, because your gift will make room for you. We'll see you on the next episode of Author Spotlight.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, YB.